No matter how much camera equipment I manage to ram on these shelves behind me, I always find myself coming back to one camera. And that's why today I'm going to be telling you the 5 reasons why I love the Canon 250D. 5 years ago, when I started doing photography, I bought myself the Canon 250D with my own money, and the camera I'm filming on now is the exact same Canon 250D. So I've been using it for 5 years, and I've taken it out in so many different situations. This video is not sponsored in any way, and all of the things that I'm telling you are my own thoughts and opinions having used this camera. So I'm going to jump straight into the first of the 5 points, and that is image quality. This camera doesn't only have 24 megapixels, no, it's got 24.1. It has more than 24 megapixels, which is more than enough for most contexts with photography. This means that when you take a photo, there's enough megapixels that if it's sharp, you can crop in and still have a sharp photo. Not only that, when you come to videoing stuff, you can go up to 4K on this camera. Now, I use 1080p, and in all of my videos you'll see the 1080p footage. The 4K can be slightly wobbly on the autofocus, meaning you'll want to use it with manual, but I've always found this 1080p sharp enough. Because it has this high image quality, it's possible to use this camera as a beginner, as an enthusiast, but even as a professional. I've used this camera on shoots up in London, I've used it on weddings and portraits, as well as the wildlife photography that you see on this channel. And because it has the ability to have that high quality, it means when you buy this as your beginning camera, this was the first camera I ever bought, it will continue to be usable throughout your time as a photographer. And here I have my Canon 250D to illustrate my next point. So point 2 is that this camera is super lightweight and compact. It is the lightest DSLR you can buy, and it is super compact, meaning that it's really easy to manage with just one hand. You can have it on a shoulder strap and you know that it's going to be as light as you can get. And although it's small, I find the buttons very easy to use despite that size. Not only that, the build quality of this camera is very good. I've used this camera for 5 years now, and the only damage I can find on it is a wearing of this back button. Now, this is the button I use for back button focusing, so I press it a lot. I kid you not, I can't find scratches or bumps. Even the rubber grip is still firmly in place. Nothing is flapping. And that build quality, that robustness gives you confidence that you can take it with you even though it's only built of plastic. It's robust, it's plastic, it's compact, and yet it carries a bunch of awesome features such as the ability to film in 50 frames per second. So you can slow down your footage and get slow motion clips. It has 4K and it has built-in stabilization. This camera never ceases to amaze me. The third point is versatility. This camera can be used for a whole range of things. Because it's so easy to use, it's lightweight and compact, you can take it wherever. You can put it in a rucksack when you go on holiday. You can take it out and do wildlife photography with it because it's easy to transport, and it has the capability to go and be used in professional contexts. I've been able to take this camera out in many different environments. Here in the UK, it gets very hot and humid, and we're currently in a really hot spell. I've left this camera out in the sun, and despite the sun heating it up to quite hot temperatures, the camera has always survived. Not only that, I've taken it out in the rain and done multiple wildlife photography shoots in the pouring rain, and it had a cover on it. I'm not advocating that this camera is waterproof. It's not waterproof, but it can survive a decent amount of harsh weather conditions if you treat it appropriately. And this camera is really useful if you want to do a mixture of photography and videography. When I bought it, I knew I wanted to do wildlife photography, but I was also looking for a camera that could film for YouTube. And here is something about this camera which lots of people don't recognize. The Canon 250D has its photography settings and videography settings separate. Now, I'm going to explain this in the context of my Canon 7D Mark II, which is behind me. The Canon 7D Mark II, if you have a shutter speed of 500 and an aperture of 4.5, and you're taking photos with those settings, when you transfer it to video mode, it transfers those settings across. That means that you're stuck with those settings, and you then have to adjust it when you go into video mode, whereas the Canon 250D will have the 500 shutter speed and the 4.5 in photography mode, but when you switch it over to video, you automatically go back to the last video settings you were using. And this means you'll probably have a shutter speed of about 50 and an aperture of maybe 5. And that's really helpful because it means as you flick between the two, you don't have to constantly reset all of the settings. The fourth thing I want to talk about is the rotatable LCD screen. This is a game changer in photography. When I was looking for my first camera, this was a must. I decided I needed a rotatable LCD screen because it gives you the ability to take pictures at awkward angles. So often I knew that I would be vlogging and I'd need to be able to see myself in the screen, or in a studio like now, I'd have the camera up against a wall to maximize space and want to be able to see what I was filming. Not only that, if I was out in the field doing wildlife photography, I'd want to rotate it upwards as I have it down near water so that I can see the reflection shots without having to get into the puddles myself. Or if I'm holding it super high, that I can look at the screen and know that I'm going to be able to see what I'm shooting, and I'm going to be able to shoot over people's heads, which is a huge advantage. This is something I really struggle with now when I look at other cameras. So I have my Canon 7D Mark II, for example, and it doesn't have a rotatable screen. And that makes it difficult to set up in awkward angles or to use to film as I'm doing now, but I hope this angle has worked out all right. You can fold this in any which way you like. You can have the screen facing outwards, or you can fold the screen in and you have this protective plastic cover on the outside of your screen. So my screen, again, has no scratches. It's quite incredible. And last, but certainly not least, we have the price. Now, for a camera that is a beginner camera, but it's so capable and has the possibility of being used in professional contexts, if I say this camera is below £500 right now, you might be surprised. The recommended retail price of this camera is £660, but using the links in the description, Amazon is currently selling it for about £470. I would highly recommend you go and check out and seriously consider if this is the camera for you, because that is a really good package for a camera that you know will continue to serve you once you've been doing it for 5 years, as I have. Not only that, but this camera retains its resale price. This camera came out in 2019. That was 6 years ago now. And despite that, the camera hasn't decreased in price. So if you buy this camera, you know that you're buying a camera that then has resale value. So if you look at upgrading, you have a camera that you can trade in on that sale and get some money back. And there we have it, just 5 of the reasons why I love the Canon 250D. I feel like I may have crammed so many points into those 5 points because there's so much that I could say about this camera. And if you have any questions, if you want to learn more about it, pop into the comments down below. Type away. Let's get the questions. Let's get all of your queries down there so we can make sure we have a full review on the Canon 250D. Pop over to my Instagram where you can ask me more and see the behind the scenes of the channel, and check out my shop. The links are all in the description. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.